So you were talking about the school committee meeting that was going to take place. Did that happen before or after the prom?
It happened before the prom.
Okay.
And it cycled around basically my rights as a human being. And that's how it seemed to start. And originally when we went to the board meeting, there's usually only like 30-ish people who go. So it's like the main administration of the school and then a lot of the parents who are super involved in like sports and their fundraising and stuff like that. This meeting had, I want to say, at least 300 people at it. Not even just people from our school, but from other schools. Some from Shenendehowa, which is a school far enough away from us where there was no reason that they had to be where we were. And it wasn't written on the agenda that it was a conversation that we were going to talk about, but it was one that I had requested weeks before to bring up.
So you requested this meeting.
I requested
Good
to be
for
put.
you.
I requested to be put on the agenda for it because I had been told that I had to talk to administration, and this is where the entire board of educators was going to be. So I was like, this is the way to do it. So we had requested that it be put on the agenda, and it never was.
So when you're putting it on the agenda, you're talking about, basically you're putting your life up for political debate as a junior in high school.
Exactly.
And you're saying, come on, I'm ready to take it. I'm ready to talk to you about my rights as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So were you in this committee meeting, when you went into it, were you pushing for like gender neutral bathrooms, for you to be the prom king, for you to just be able to play sports, all of the above, just for people to know who you were?
Honestly, the reason that I wanted to go through and do the agenda had started because of the outburst that happened when my friends wanted to vote me prom king. And in that, I was thinking about one of the other students in our school who, she was in first and second grade, the mom who helped me transition, and about what the school would look like when she got to middle school and high school. And she knew that she was herself from the time she was like 6. Mm-hmm. And she would come home and she always wanted to be the mom and wanted to wear girl clothes and it's who she was.
Right.
And I was just thinking about how confident she is now, being 6, 7, 8 years old, in who she is, and the idea that she might have to go back on that when she got to where I was, and I wasn't having it. So it turned into a battle for other trans students rather than a fight for myself. I've always had a really hard time standing up for myself, but when I looked at it as the bigger picture and thinking about these kids coming through the school system and people that I know and the people who had graduated and transitioned after high school that I knew, and just they didn't get to come out when I did, and they didn't start transitioning until college or after, and it was just a bigger picture of like, this isn't just a me problem, this is an us problem.
So you get to this committee meeting, can you tell me kind of how the meeting went?
It was a mess. Because we weren't written on the agenda to talk about the subject, we had to talk about it, I think they called it free conversation, where you could bring up whatever you wanted to happening in the community. And I was really nervous to start the conversation because I just kind of wanted to sit and listen for a little bit. So this first grader's mother was also there and started the conversation of, I have a daughter who's coming up in the system, and the first person to tell me that she can't be my daughter, like, that's the end, and you're done. And I asked an alum from the high school to come as well, and he stood and shared his piece of what it was to be in high school and how he wished that somebody told him that being transgender was an option, because he would have lived his life so much differently than what he did. And not that it was too little too late, but he transitioned a lot later in life than what he could have if he was educated on the topic or somebody talked about it or accepted him for who he was. Yep. And from there, the school board was like, we're not talking about this. And I was like, wait, what? Excuse me? And they were like, you guys can talk amongst yourselves, but we are not allowed, like, we're not giving our opinion on it. We will take notes. We'll talk about this later, but we are not addressing it in this meeting. So it ended up being an open floor of, like, parents going at each other, and, like, I had at least 2 tables of kids from, like, my grade and the grade below me. Maybe a third of them were supporting me, 2/3 of them were waiting for me to screw up in front of everyone, and then we had parents from other schools talking about how their kid came home from school and they were sitting at the dinner table and started talking about what it is to be transgender and all the lesbians in their school and all these things, and their literal quote was, why wasn't I notified? But it's not your place to be notified that there's a trans student in the school. And
it would be like, why would you notify me that you have any kind of kid in your school?
Exactly.
I mean, there's no, we're not different, but people make us different.
Exactly.
I'm a human being. Once again, I want to state it. I'm a human being. And for you to go into a committee meeting and hear your life literally being open for discussion
It was debated.
about, that's even worse. I know those experiences. I've had to defend my life. I've had to defend my human rights in a debate before, and it's not pleasant. And then for your friends, I can only imagine what kind of friends you must have had to have survived all this.
I was surprised at some of the people who stepped forward and were like, I've got your back. There weren't many, and I think I am only still friends with about 3 of them. And I had 5 people who were consistent from beginning to end, and like other people floated in between, and they were like, yeah, I'm here for you, and then they were like, this is too deep for me, I'm out. And I really value those people who stuck with me through it, and I still talk to, like I said, a few of them now, and like I really don't know where I would have been without them.